Okay. All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, dear viewers, friends, and colleagues. Welcome to the Innovative Sustainability channel. It is my pleasure today to welcome Peter Isacson. He's a Chief Visionary Officer of Skillscaper. He's specializing in English literature and also in creating educational technology tools, such as recent tackle in Skillscaper that we have. And he also, as he said, wears two hats. So another hat is Chief Strategy Officer in the Fair Observer Journal. So, Peter, welcome. Floor is yours. And for the viewers, I just want to say that today we'll use a podcast style. Like we have a few videos already on this channel. Hopefully the topic would be interesting for you. Stay tuned. So, Peter, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much, Marina, for inviting me. I think we want to talk about the world of upskilling, the world of managing competency and skills in the workplace. And I think that extends broader across society itself, because our civilization today is faced with a lot of problems, obviously, obvious ones that are in the news, but a more fundamental problem is managing a transition in, I would say, the geopolitical reality of the world. It's something I'm working on in various. I have a third hat. I'm involved in a project to create a new school of diplomacy, an international.
That's amazing. Maybe you can talk about it a little bit as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I will, because all these things are related. I think you framed the problem in terms of sustainability.
Yes.
And I would say, yes, we're in a state of civilizational angst, to use a German word, that calls into question our ability to sustain ourselves as a global civilization and as an economy, as a society. And this touches every aspect of society. And that's what I do in my journalism. I cover a lot of different topics, including philosophy. But the sustainability problem is, when you apply it to the workplace, is very real. We're all concerned today about the impact of AI, not so much as a technology, but as a threat to the way the whole job market is structured. And we need to look at what, rather than having an attitude of fear and anguish, we should be looking at it as a moment of opportunity. Obviously, when anything changes radically, without your choosing to change it, because that's how things happen. I'm not talking about wars, which are a big problem today, but I'm talking about technology change, amongst other things, which in the version of technology change we're having today has a severe impact on everything. So what it means is not only that there's a problem of, will there be jobs? Or will the people who are working today have jobs tomorrow? But it's also a question of, how do you manage a workplace where everything is being transformed in ways that we don't understand? And I think one of the interesting things about AI, for me, it's very interesting, because I was very much involved in the e-learning, well, what we thought would be the e-learning revolution. I was very active with ASTD in the US, participating in debates about what e-learning meant. The fact that, I'm going back to 1999, 2000, the early 2000s. Everyone was saying, well, e-learning is going to replace traditional learning. Obviously, it didn't. And what we learned along the way is that e-learning allows us, when I say us, it's a wide range of people,
People,
uh,
yeah,
from, from,
students.
from teachers to students to
Exactly.
administrators to publishers, uh, to creators, media creators. It gave us the opportunity to do things that were complementary and that were not easy to do earlier, and that could be done even in a local setting by creative people. So the technology was changing the way we produce knowledge and the way we disseminate knowledge. Now, I could go into the whole history of it, but um, if we go back 25 years to the beginning of the century, it was the emergence of e-learning, meaning that people would be using computers, but nobody knew exactly how in a
Okay.
learning context. And then about 10 years later, we had two phenomena, which I was involved very much in the first one, which was gamification. And that was another use of technology. It didn't, in my opinion, it wasn't destined to go anywhere, but it did introduce the notion of personal interactivity and personal performance. Um, I'm actually opposed to all the logic behind gamification, which is a system of rewards and to some extent punishment, because if you don't perform, you're told you're not a good performer. Um, I'm more interested in and the thing I've worked on for the last 40 years is creating conditions where human collaboration, is optimized, where human communication and the effect it has on the way we behave in very unconscious ways, not just what we learn consciously, but how we learn to adapt to an environment. That's what sustainability is about. If we reduce sustainability to its essential meaning, it's the capacity to interact efficiently with an environment. Now,
True, actually. Yes, yes,
the environment
exactly.
it could be the material environment, it can be the social environment, it can be the professional environment, it can be a linguistic environment. There are so many variables that we now realize, especially after the period of globalization, which is being called into question now in the geopolitical realm. But globalization taught us that this was a very complex world we live in, culturally, linguistically, politically. And that's why there's something else I'm involved in, the School of Diplomacy, which we're trying to build in. It begins as a collaboration, a direct collaboration between India and France. But it's not limited to those two countries. They're the two platforms we're using to build from, but it's intended to concern the whole world. And what's behind it is a basic kind of philosophical reasoning that we consider to be a response to what's happening in the world today, and that's multipolarity. We're
Multipolarity. Yes,
moving from
exactly.
the unipolar world, which the country I was born in, and I'm a citizen. I'm a citizen of two. I have two hats and two nationalities as well. I'm American by birth and European by adoption, and French. I'm a French national, and I've been in France for 45 years. So we're looking at a world that has that is moving away from the unipolar moment we had after the collapse of the Soviet Union, where everyone thought that the American model could be transported and adopted everywhere else in the world. And that had an effect of stimulating a high degree of hubris amongst American presidents in particular, who were very fond of developing their executive power in relation to what they were supposed to do constitutionally. And what that meant is that the US became really thought of itself as the indispensable nation, the exceptional nation, and so on. And everyone else was, Americans assumed that everyone else wanted to be like Americans. Well, now we realize that isn't the case, and that it could be an abuse of power to, it's actually an abuse of intellect, I would say, to believe that there is one model, wherever it comes from, that could provide the template for the way people think, work,
You're right,
manage,
yes.
and govern.
Yeah. It has
So
to be different, right? It has to be different, and different culture brings something unique. And I think, for sustainability, it's something for all of us together as, global civilization to discover and to gain from. Like, when you mentioned e-learning, I'm thinking, okay, it's University of Phoenix. For me, it was an opportunity to learn, but learn business basically, and speak different language and all that stuff. But on the other hand, it's not like you go to university and sit and talk to students, have personal interaction. It was only online and by phone, and it wasn't like was no visual at that point, just emails and text
right.
and the phone calls. But still, like with some of them, I still maintain bonding, and one of them was even speaker on the channel. So really, it gives more opportunities. So globalization definitely had some angle where we, interact more and understand and comprehend each other's issues. But I think now with the move that, it's really mosaic. We're all different. This angle definitely supposed to bring, well, maybe more difficulties how to interact. And I think that's where, new tools and educational technology can help. But also like gain from that, like gain knowledge, gain perspective, gain maybe some cultural things that could be used in the current world as a remedy maybe, or as a solution. So definitely, yeah, that
Yes.
shift may bring us a new energy to carry on as a earth, and survive for another maybe centuries, hopefully. Yeah.
The difference we're seeing today, because we've had all these technology revolutions.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'll give you a little anecdote. I launched a business of producing very sophisticated multimedia for professional training in 1988 in Paris. It was a company we called at the time Interaxis. We were putting the accent on interactivity, and what I was doing was interactive video. And the reason I was, even though I was involved in e-learning, you could say, for me, e-learning without a human dimension was mechanical learning. It wasn't learning. It was an impoverished form of learning. So what I was doing at that time was interactive video. Now that was very complex because we didn't have a single technology that could do it. We had to build workstations. We had to find different components and, for example, put an overlay board inside a computer as well as a sound board, because computers were not multimedia in the end of the 80s. We had to and the overlay board did a job nobody had even imagined, but it was possible technically. It didn't make sense, but it was possible. And that is combining a television image, which is a series of waves and a series of lines on the screen, with a computer, a digital image, which is pixels. And somebody had the engineering skills to do that, and so we did have overlay boards. But the anecdote I wanted to mention, because I'm talking about 1990, 91, at the time, I would explain what we were doing to our customers and to the general public. I would often speak at public events. And I remember telling people at that time, well, these things are evolving. And what we're soon going to have is totally integrated technology where on the same device, you will have the image, you'll have moving images, you'll have cinema, you'll have, it'll be a telephone and it will be a computer. And people looked at me as if I was crazy. That could never happen. I was saying, you've got a telephone at home, you've got a computer at home, you've got a television.
Yes,
they're all going to be in the same. Nobody believed me. They thought this was science fiction. And of course, it happened very quickly. But the problem with all that, and the reason I focused on interactive video is I felt that I've always felt that the dimension of human personality is absolutely fundamental in any learning process. So we could cheat a little bit and we could record actors doing things and make it interactive so that what the choices that the user made had an impact on what would be seen on the screen. And it's only today at Skillscaper, this is what we're doing, is that now the technology is so totally integrated that we can really control it and manage it and produce it very efficiently and in a way that we know will be pedagogically effective. And the tools are all there to do things with a maximum of interactivity. The problem today, and it's not a problem for us because we've kind of solved it, the problem I can see out in the world is that people are still thinking along the old lines of education is not about interaction or interactivity. It's not about learning to have an impact on your environment and learning from the environment. It's still, for most people, a question of transmitting knowledge from people who know something and have mastered skills to the people who have not mastered those skills and who need the recipes to know how to do that. Well, the recipes don't tell you anything. They tell you what the ingredients are. They tell you the stages in which you can do things, but they give you no sense of what's going to happen. Every cook knows this. You can read a recipe and it all makes sense on the page. Then when you start doing it, you realize
it doesn't work.
Well, it may work. It doesn't work in the way you imagined it or the way it was promised, because there are factors like temperature, the quality of the ingredients,
time,
dosing, time, all kinds of things. And how do you acquire that? Through experience. I mean, today's bad cook becomes a good cook. Now, the best way to do it is to work with other cooks in a professional setting and see what they're doing, participate. So what we can do with technology today, and this is promising, is to develop that notion of optimizing the opportunities for discovering and interacting with with your environment, a professional environment. You can do it through simulation, but simulation with decision making, where what you do has an impact on the way things play out in the situation you're dealing with. So, for example, at Skillscaper, we created a product, a product that's focused on language learning, on language level for foreign speakers. But it isn't about testing. And it is a test. We call it the test of actual communication level in English. But the emphasis is on communication level, which is interaction.
Just I want to say for the viewers, we call it Tackle. So viewers, if you look at the Skillscaper, you'll see Tackle as a product. But just like Peter said, it's actually has, testing of the actual knowledge and comprehension. Yeah. Sorry.
So it's less about knowledge than the ability to handle a situation, to interact with an environment. And that's why when I describe what I designed, I'm the principal designer. But this is an approach I've been developing since 1988, when we were doing interactive video. And that is, it's not about evaluating the actual knowledge or skill sets that people have. It's in terms of the standard description of these things. It's looking at how the knowledge and skills they possess today actually affect real situations. So we're actually, what we're testing is the ability to manage an open situation, an evolving situation. And it's
if I may, I just want to say, I think for viewers also, for example, when I was in Phoenix, part of the program was simulation. But the trick about it was that, at the end, whether you choose right direction or wrong direction, you always get right answer. So this is the correct answer. That's how the, play is supposed to resolve conflict or find solution or whatever the topic was. But, each of us, for example, we usually had 6 or 7 people in the team, and, we do it individually and then compare notes and figure out, right, like who took which route. But what's different in Tackle, it's like it's always open-ended. So it assesses like, okay, whichever route you took, this is the comprehension, the score, the ability to interact. There are no right or wrong answers. It's like whichever route you take, there is an end result, and this end result means something for you. Like for me, it was okay, maybe improve on this, improve, like watch this movies, videos, to recognize certain expressions and so forth. But this is like it's completely different level. Like with top normal simulations, you don't have the you always have embedded right answer, whether you reached it or not. Here, it's like how to say, emulation, or trying to approximate to what person is, that whatever you answer, it's a norm. It's just, with this norm, you can, do more to reach different level of understanding, or, working with people, whatever parameters is in the list assessed. So that's what I just want to highlight, because maybe not all very obvious. It's new tool. It's amazing. I did it twice. Both times I was told like you have to learn more, but it's interesting where you see and how the answers change and show you level.
Exactly. It's not a question. I mean, there are degrees of degrees of skills and appropriateness of anything you choose, but you can how the system works on the basis of determining how effective you are at achieving an objective. Now, you can make mistakes along the way and still be effective, or you can be very smooth at a superficial level and do things in a respectable way and still get it wrong because you're not adapting to the situation. So that's what we're measuring, how well the choices you make, or what kind of impact they have on the outcome. That's a different way of doing assessment. We call it, it's nonlinear logic. It's nonlinear and multi-layered at the same time, because any choice you make reveals something about how you make choices. And that's what professional skills are in the end. How do you make it? What actually contributed to making the choice you made? And the other thing we're also evaluating is how well you recover from a mistake.
Okay.
And when I say a mistake, it's not a mistake that is wrong in terms of what the book tells you to do. It's a mistake because it's pushed the situation in the wrong direction, in a non-optimal direction. So the whole, now we did this for English. Actually, the first I've done products using this technology from the past, going back to the interactive video days, for team management, for interview techniques, and that's a typical sort of thing. Learning how to manage, not learning, testing people on how well they manage a conversation where you, in a management situation, you definitely have an objective. The objective may be to justify terminating somebody, which is not, a pleasant thing to do. Or,
no, it's always tough.
But
always.
But it may also be, just to motivate people. So there's in real life, there are positive and negative situations, and the way you manage those situations is, the basis of a manager's skills. So when I talk about situations, I'm talking about basically social skills. They're social, but they're also technical. They're also professional in the sense that they're aligned with outcomes, measurable outcomes. And the only way to do that is with the nonlinear approach we've taken. But there's actually a second element that we can now work with if we took the time to understand it, and that's AI. And when I say if we took the time, I'm observing that people are looking at AI, using it in the wrong ways, asking the wrong questions, and therefore either getting the wrong emotional results, either panic or enthusiasm because it's a tool for productivity, which from a manager's or a director's point of view is, I don't need as many people as I can reduce my workforce. So those are the wrong, it's the wrong orientations of reasoning. We should be reasoning in terms of, here's a technology that does something. We've got to start understanding what it does. It's not just an old technology that has procedures built into it that produce specific results. There's nothing more open than AI. It isn't human intelligence because it doesn't have a nervous system, and it will never have a nervous system. But even you can simulate nervous systems and let the people in Silicon Valley have fun doing that, trying to do that, or promising that it's going to be done. It won't happen. And it's unfortunate that the media only talk about two things: the disaster on the job that this means for the job market, and the promise this means for solving all problems without having recourse to humans. It's a crazy situation, but that's because we have a civilization that has not matured enough to think about what it's producing and what it's already produced and what it does and what it can do. So I have a lot of hope because I think we can always wake up. We can always take the time to discover things. But I know everyone wants to push forward, and the result is often that we just don't take the time to listen, think, work out the complexity of it, and do what I'm talking about, which is have a sustainable approach.
Yes, I think sustainability with AI, it's right now it penetrates many aspects, but at least from my humble understanding is that it only takes what's available in the sources and databases, whichever source of information the AI tool uses. Is that information on internet, I don't know, publicly available, or wherever it can penetrate and basically summarize information. What AI really helps is to summarize what's available. So you don't need to sit on internet and spend much time to, like previously, like almost a year or 2 years ago, I would write things, every single letter myself. Right now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I may miss something. So let's check with, I don't know, Copilot, see what it shows. It gives me backbone. And then I quickly see this is not real. It's not true. It's like it takes from somewhere. Like even if, for example, I give my text and like even my CV, and it quickly polishes something that it's not me anymore. It's somebody else because it thinks letters words have to be put nicely, but with that it changes the meaning also. So humans have to be still auditors, the checks and balances, if you will, and having very clearly in mind whatever we put in, that's what it summarizes for us. Yeah, and very often it's very helpful, but it has to be checked. You cannot just take it and use it without any sense of responsibility.
I actually I go further than that. At Fair Observer, I do a weekly column called Outside the Box,
Mhm.
which is always a conversation that I've initiated with an AI bot. And I use all of them. I mean, I mix it up. Um, and I do that because I believe that AI can be a good educational tool, not if you're looking for true information from it, because information is always distorted, and especially if it's a machine. I mean, we know why humans distort information. They do it to get some kind of advantage out of a situation. So it could be propaganda. It could be selling a product that isn't really worth, or the person doesn't really need. Uh, so there are reasons people distort things. There are fewer obvious reasons why a machine would distort things, but we know that hallucinations are real. What's interesting about it is because of the relative honesty of AI, you can challenge it and you can get it to challenge you. Uh, and and this is what I do in my columns. So in fact, my one of my objectives, because I've now done hundreds of these columns, I started as soon as ChatGPT came out in January 2023. I was doing daily columns of experimental conversations with AI.
How it
Now
will react. Yeah, yeah.
we've built that logic into our Skillscaper products as well. So there's the nonlinear conversation side of it or dialogue side of it. But there's also the AI conversation about it, which is totally open-ended. When you talk to an AI, it gives you probably unstable, unverified information if you're just asking for information. But if
Yes.
you say to it, wait a minute, I don't trust what you've just told me, it comes back and says, oh, it apologized in general. All the chatbots apologize when you call them out. But that's interesting in itself. And it's good to have someone polite to talk to. But what's interesting is and this is where I think it can work as a great future educational tool, is where the user says, I think what you're missing is, or what you might be missing is, and then you think of a new idea, or maybe it's an old idea you already had, but you challenge it and say, what do you think about that? And you can actually develop a Socratic conversation based on serious things. I know people are using it for personal psychotherapy, which is the wrong thing to do, because as I said earlier, AI is not a sentient being, and only a sentient being can produce that minimal amount of empathy that's required
to
solve a problem or to address a problem. So there's a great future for AI in education, but everyone's thinking of it as a super Wikipedia, but that's not what it is. It's not something to draw information from. It's something that can allow individual students to refine their ability to think, dialogue with others, and interact. And I go further than that in everything. Now I've had conversations with AI about this, and I think it was an AI that made the suggestion that what I was describing is something that other people have imagined, and that's a collaboratory, a co-laboratory that is a system of exchange, of exchange with humans, not just one human and one chatbot, but an ecosystem,
right?
A social ecosystem that includes an AI voice or several AI voices. In other words, AI does have a voice. It acts like as if it was a person. So why not invite it into the environment and find out, as we would with any co-worker, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses? We're not going to punish them for their weaknesses. We're going to say, how can we exploit your strengths, and how can we relieve you, and identify other people, other places where the weaknesses can be compensated. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can be trained perfectly to do a single job profile. And this is one of the themes we're working on in the background, defining what job profiles are. There's something now that a lot of people are talking about. Deloitte in particular has focused on it as a major theme that is of interest to the management philosophy of corporate
world,
of the corporate world, and that's skills-based organizations, SBOs. When you talk about skills-based organization, you're not talking about identifying the separate skills that are required at different job levels. You're talking about whether it goes back to something that was very popular 20 years ago, and that is the learning organization. A learning organization was one where, and we were talking about that in the e-learning context, where people were working together or collaborating in such a way that the knowledge of somebody could have an impact and be transferred to and assimilated by other people, and that you could create team cultures. So an SBO, I mean, and the fact is that if you have any group of people that are focused on a particular set of objectives, the way any enterprise is, you have a social group.
Yes.
It's not just a professional group, it's a social group. And I'll go back to when we were talking about education at the beginning and
Yes.
comparing it to e-learning. And this is a point I was making 25 years ago. And that is that if you look at how universities worked, have always worked, well, not always, but have worked at least in the recent past. Um, everyone has a tendency to think, well, you have so many disciplines, you have so many subject matters, you have so many curricula and so on, and so many criteria for success or failure. Uh, so that's a very mechanical view of what happens at a university. When I would think back to my university experience in two different places, which had totally different social structures to them, UCLA to start with, and then Oxford in England. And the way relationships work is totally different because they're different societies and they're different traditions. But when I would think back to the university, and I was a very good student, I didn't think, and I thought about how I learned things. Just thinking back at it, I said, well, it wasn't about how much studying I did and how many good grades I got. It was about the discussions I was having with different people, including professors, but my friends, my colleagues.
Yes.
It also made me reflect on the discussions I wasn't having, because I was interested in what I was studying, but a lot of people at university weren't interested. And I remember at UCLA, having conversations with people right at the beginning. I would say, "Oh, which course should I enroll in? Which subject matter?" And people would say, "Oh, well, there's something that this was I don't know if people say that today, a Mickey Mouse course."
Yeah.
They would recommend Mickey Mouse courses. I said, "I don't want Mickey Mouse." Yeah.
I'm just conscious of time. I think it tells me like we only have 2 minutes left, so I just don't want to be cut off. But I think what you're bringing is the same reflection I have from my workplace. My colleagues would always say, Marina, all you remember is people like friends you made at the workplace. And frankly, if I recall, it's not reports, papers, whatever. It's like conversations, usually around the table because it's either lunch or we just have get together. Usually happens very rarely, although you think occasionally, but it's rarely. But that's all you retain. Same like with family, it's usually going together someplace or, sitting down and having discussion over food or just a cup of coffee, whatever it is. And that's more meaningful for us. So human aspect must be there. But just to wrap up, I'm thinking to say to the viewers that what at least I'm gathering from what you just said, that AI could be this depository for knowledge that team gains. That people go, they find different jobs, different maybe even career paths, but this knowledge retains for next a cohort of people who would come and continue this work. Maybe tackle or any other tool that you would be championing to have that in mind. Like, okay, knowledge retention, because like I'm from Sanofi, right? So French-based company, but it was always on agenda for them, like how to retain knowledge, and I think that's AI would be something very helpful for future.
AI is part of our environment. We need to understand how to use it in ways that are really productive for us as human beings. So we shouldn't be thinking about whether we're competing with AI or whether we're competing with others. That's where when I talk about collaboratories, we're talking about people getting involved in an ecosystem and elaborating the principles of sustainability that make them work as a group, as individuals, and actually to improve the performance of their tools, because AI is a tool and it can perform in better or worse ways, just like a human being.
Thank you so much, Peter. I think we had great discussion. I imagine for viewers will be new because many people asking this question, I don't have that much time to learn. I have to speed up my learning. I think, where Skillscaper can greatly contribute is for people to absorb knowledge and still to have this human aspect and interact with each other. So thank you so much for joining. I imagine we will have more conversations in the future.
Yes,
Or near
absolutely.
future. Yes, it would be a pleasure to welcome you back to the channel. And for viewers, thank you very much for staying. Bye for now. Stay tuned. More videos will come in. Okay, bye for now.
Thank you very much, Marina. Bye.